Mommy, I just wanted to make sure you and Daddy are still here. My name is Sienna Calloway. A woman once thrown out into the rain by the man I loved most, accused of a crime I didn't commit. 4 years later, I didn't return for revenge. I came back to show that the children I raised alone are living proof of a love he chose to abandon. And then, right in the middle of our daughter's 5th birthday party, one of them pressed the engagement ring he had once picked out for me into my hand and whispered, "Daddy said we could give this to you if you seemed happy." Believe me, that moment brought the entire past crashing back like a storm. Before I share the rest of my story, tell me where you're watching from in the comments. Hit like and subscribe if you've ever had to rebuild your family from the cracks. You're going to want to hear what happened next. The rain hammered against the floor-to-ceiling windows of Cole's penthouse that night, each drop a tiny fist pounding to get in. I stood in the middles of our living room. His living room, I suppose it always was, watching him pace behind his mahogany desk like a caged predator. His gray eyes, the ones that used to soften when they found mine across crowded boardrooms, were now cold as Austin steel. $500,000, Sienna. His voice cut through the storm outside. Gone from the foundation account, your access codes, your timestamps. My hands instinctively moved to my stomach, where 2 tiny hearts had been beating for 8 weeks now. Hearts he didn't know about. Hearts I'd planned to tell him about over dinner tonight, the dinner now growing cold on our dining table, the champagne unopened. "Cole, please, just listen." "I've listened enough." He slammed a folder onto the desk, papers spilling out like accusations. "The forensic audit is clear. Every transaction traces back to you." I picked up one of the papers with trembling fingers. There was my employee ID, my digital signature, timestamps when I'd been in meetings with 50 witnesses. It was perfect. Too perfect. "This is wrong. You know me. 7 years, Cole. 7 years, and you think I'd get out." 2 words. That's all it took to end us. Not the 7 years of late nights at Argent Biomed, building the company's charitable foundation from nothing. Not the mornings tangled in Egyptian cotton sheets, mapping each other's dreams with whispered promises. Not the ring I'd caught him browsing for on his laptop last month when he thought I was asleep. I didn't argue, didn't cry, didn't mention the anonymous letter I'd received 2 weeks ago, warning me that someone close to me was manipulating the company's audit systems. I'd thought it was a prank, maybe a disgruntled employee trying to stir trouble. Now, standing in the ruins of my life, I wondered if it had been a warning I should have heeded. I packed one suitcase, left my company laptop, my access badge, my keys to the penthouse on the kitchen counter. The elevator ride down 37 floors felt like descending into hell, each floor number counting down to my exile. Outside, the rain soaked through my coat in seconds. I stood on the sidewalk, looking up at the windows of what used to be home. Cole's shadow moved behind the curtains. He didn't look down. My phone buzzed. A corporate email. My access had already been revoked. 7 years, erased in 7 minutes. I hailed a cab with one hand while the other pressed against my stomach. "It's okay," I whispered to the 2 tiny souls who didn't ask for any of this. "We're going to be okay." The cab driver asked where to, and I realized I had nowhere to go. My whole life had been Cole, had been Argent Biomed. My apartment had been sublet years ago when I moved in with him. My friends were his friends. My world was his world. "The Greyhound station," I heard myself say. As Austin's lights blurred past the rain-streaked windows, I thought about the last time Cole had touched me tenderly, just this morning. His fingers had traced my spine as I made coffee, and he'd murmured something about me looking tired, asked if I was feeling all right. I'd almost told him then about the pregnancy test hidden in my purse. Thank God I hadn't. The station was nearly empty at midnight. I bought a ticket to the first city on the board heading east, Asheville, North Carolina. As I waited on the hard plastic chair, I pulled out my phone and started typing a message to Cole, then deleted it, started again, deleted. What could I possibly say? That I was innocent? He'd made it clear he didn't believe that. That I was pregnant? He'd think I was lying, manipulating him. The bus arrived and I climbed aboard, choosing a window seat near the back. As we pulled away from Austin, from everything I'd known, I placed both hands on my stomach. "Just us now," I whispered. Asheville in autumn was nothing like Austin. The mountains wrapped around the city like protective arms, their peaks disappearing into morning mist. I'd found the cabin on Craigslist, a 2-bedroom rental on the outskirts of town, surrounded by hickory and oak trees that were turning gold and crimson. The owner, Mrs. Chen, was a retired nurse who didn't ask questions about why a woman 7 months pregnant was renting alone, paying 6 months upfront in cash. The freelance work came slowly at first. Small projects for local businesses, writing press releases, and managing social media. Nothing like the multi-million-dollar campaigns I'd orchestrated at Argent Biomed, but it was enough. It had to be. The twins made their presence known constantly now. One, Nova, I'd already decided, loved to kick my ribs at 3 a.m. The other, Ilara, seemed to hiccup whenever I played music. They were active, healthy, perfect. The doctor at the free clinic had shown me their profiles on the ultrasound, and I'd sobbed so hard the technician had to stop, thinking something was wrong. Everything was wrong. Everything was perfect. I wrote letters to Cole every night. Long ones, short ones, angry ones, desperate ones. I told him about the pregnancy, about the cabin, about how Nova had his stubborn streak already, refusing to turn head down until week 35. I told him about the forensic analysis I'd paid for with my dwindling savings, the one that proved the digital signatures were sophisticated forgeries. I told him I loved him. I told him I hated him. I told him everything and nothing. I never sent a single one. They lived in a shoebox under my bed, growing into a paper monument to my isolation. Sometimes I'd pull them out and read them, charting my emotional journey from rage to grief to something approaching acceptance. The early ones were tear-stained and barely legible. The later ones were calmer, more matter-of-fact. The girls started crawling today. Nova went backward and got stuck under the coffee table. Ilara just watched and laughed. The birth came fast and hard on a snowy February night. Mrs. Chen drove me to the hospital, held my hand when I screamed, became the grandmother my daughters would never have. When the nurses asked about the father, I said he was deceased. It felt true enough. Nova came first, screaming and fierce, her tiny fists already fighting. Ilara followed 3 minutes later, quiet and observant, her gray eyes, Cole's eyes, taking in everything. When they placed them on my chest, skin to skin, I felt my heart crack and reform, bigger than before, big enough to hold all 3 of us. The days blurred into a routine of feedings and diapers, of lullabies and first smiles. I found work at a local clinic, doing their communications and filling in at reception when needed. It was there, 6 months later, that everything shifted. A man had collapsed in the waiting room, his teenage son screaming for help. Everyone froze, but my body remembered the EMT training I'd taken years ago, back when Cole and I thought we'd sail around the world and needed emergency medical skills. I stabilized him, kept his airway clear, monitored his pulse until the ambulance arrived. The man survived. His name was James Morrison, and he ran the hospital. His son, Tyler, started visiting the clinic, bringing me coffee and offering to babysit the twins. "You saved my dad," he'd say, like it explained everything. Maybe it did. James offered me a better position at the hospital, communications director for their new pediatric wing. The pay was triple what the clinic offered. I could move out of the cabin, get a real apartment, maybe even save something for the girls' future. I accepted, and that night, I wrote another letter to Cole. This one was different. No anger, no pleading, just facts. The girls are walking now. Nova first, of course. Ilara waited a week, then just stood up and ran. "They have your eyes, your stubborn chin. I've stopped waiting for you to find us. I've stopped wanting you to. We're building something here, the 3 of us. It's small and imperfect, and ours." I put it in the shoebox with the others. 4 years had passed, and we'd found our rhythm. The apartment near the hospital had a small yard where the girls could play, and they'd started preschool at the Montessori school down the street. Nova was fearless, always the first to climb the highest slide. Ilara was thoughtful, often found reading books to her stuffed animals, making up elaborate stories. I should have known that accepting the PR contract for the biotech conference in Savannah was a mistake, but the money was too good, and it was only 3 days. The girls could come with me. The hotel had a kids' club, and Tyler had offered to fly down to help watch them. The Savannah Convention Center was packed with the industry's brightest minds. I moved through the crowd with practiced ease, the girls' hands clasped firmly in mine. They wore matching yellow sundresses Mrs. Chen had made, their golden curls bouncing as they walked. "Mommy, I'm thirsty." Alara tugged at my hand. "Me too," Nova added, though I suspected she just didn't want to be left out. I knelt down, rummaging through my bag for their water bottles, when I heard it. That laugh. Deep, controlled, the kind that never quite reached his eyes unless he was truly amused. My body recognized it before my mind did, every cell remembering how that laugh felt vibrating against my skin. I looked up slowly, and there he was, Cole Maddox, in a charcoal suit that cost more than I made in a month, standing 20 feet away. He was addressing a group of investors, his presence commanding the space like he owned it, which, knowing Cole, he probably did. Then Nova laughed, high and bright, and his head turned. Time stopped. His gray eyes found her first, then Alara, then me. The color drained from his face. His mouth opened slightly, words dying before they formed. The investors kept talking, but Cole wasn't listening anymore. He was staring at 2 little girls who were miniature versions of himself. The same ash blonde hair, the same storm gray eyes, the same determined set to their jaws. "Mommy, why is that man looking at us?" Alara whispered, pressing closer to my leg. Before I could answer, before I could run, a woman appeared at Cole's elbow. Celeste Baird. I recognized her from the society pages. Tall, elegant, diamond ring catching the light as she placed a possessive hand on Cole's arm. His fiancée. She followed his gaze to us, and her eyes narrowed. She whispered something in his ear, tugged at his arm. He didn't move. Couldn't move. His eyes were doing the math. The girl's age, their features, the way Nova was already scowling at him with his exact expression of displeasure. I stood, pulling the girls behind me. "We have to go." "But Mommy, I'm still thirsty." "Now, Nova." I picked up Alara, grabbed Nova's hand, and walked away. Didn't run. That would have caused a scene, but walked with purpose, my heart hammering so hard I was sure everyone could hear it. Behind us, I heard Celeste's voice, sharp and demanding. Cole, the investors are waiting." I didn't look back. Couldn't. But I felt his gaze burning into my spine all the way to the exit. In the car, Nova asked, "Was that man sad, Mommy?" I glanced in the rearview mirror at her 2 perceptive eyes. "I don't know, baby." "He looked sad," Alara said quietly. "Like when Tyler's dad talks about Tyler's mom in heaven." I gripped the steering wheel tighter. Sometimes grown-ups are complicated. "What's complicated mean?" Nova asked. "It means difficult to understand." "Oh." She was quiet for a moment. "Like math?" "Exactly like math." That night, in the hotel room, after the girls were asleep, I sat on the bathroom floor and cried silently. I'd known this day would come eventually. The biotech world wasn't that big. But I'd hoped for more time. Time to prepare. Time to decide what to say. Time to figure out how to explain to 2 4-year-olds why they didn't have a daddy when all their friends did. My phone buzzed. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me swipe accept. "Sienna?" His voice was rough, like he'd been drinking. Or crying. Cole never cried. I hung up. He called back immediately. I declined. A text came through. "Please, just 5 minutes." I turned off my phone and went to bed, curling around my daughters like I could protect them from the storm I knew was coming. He found us a week later. I shouldn't have been surprised. Cole had resources I couldn't imagine. When the Blacktown car pulled up outside our apartment building, I was watering the small garden the girls and I had planted. Nova was trying to catch a butterfly. Alara was carefully drawing it in her notebook. Cole stepped out, and for a moment I saw him falter. This wasn't the penthouse. This wasn't Austin. This was our life, small and simple and nothing like what we'd planned together. "Girls, go inside." "But Mommy." Now please, Mrs. Chen has cookies. They ran inside, Nova pausing to stare at Cole once more before Ilara pulled her away. You can't be here, I said, not looking at him, focusing on the tomato plants that suddenly needed immediate attention. Sienna? No. I stood, dirt still on my hands. You don't get to just show up. You made your choice. I didn't know. His voice cracked. God, Sienna, I didn't know about them. Would it have mattered? The question hung between us, heavy as the humid Carolina air. If I had told you that night, would you have believed me? Or would you have thought I was using them to manipulate you? He didn't answer. Couldn't, probably, because we both knew the truth. I need to see them. No. They're mine too. They're nothing to you. The words came out harder than I intended. You're just a stranger who looks sad to them, that's all. He reached into his jacket, still wearing a suit in this heat, still playing CEO even here, and pulled out an envelope. Then at least read this. I didn't take it. He set it on the porch railing and walked back to his car. At the door, he turned. I hired investigators, after Savannah. They confirmed what you've probably known all along. The forensic evidence was fabricated. The timestamps, the signatures, all of it. Sophisticated work. I was wrong. Get out. My voice was steady, but my hands were shaking. The letter has the full report and an apology. I know it's not enough. I know it's 4 years too late, but I needed you to know. He left. I stood there for 10 minutes, staring at the envelope like it might explode. Finally, I opened it. Inside was the forensic report. Pages and pages of technical analysis proving my innocence. And a handwritten letter, Cole's angular script covering 3 pages. Sienna, I've started this letter 100 times. There are no words sufficient for what I've done. I chose to believe data over 7 years of knowing your heart. I chose suspicion over trust. I chose wrong. Seeing them, our daughters, was like seeing ghosts of the future we should have had. They're beautiful. Perfect. Everything I don't deserve. I won't fight you for them. I won't disrupt their lives. But if you ever find it in yourself to let me know them, even a little, I'll do whatever you ask. Whatever they need. I'm dissolving my engagement to Celeste. Not because of you. You've made it clear that bridge is burned. But because I can't marry someone while knowing I have children in the world, I'm not fighting to be near. The enclosed check is not charity. It's child support. Backdated. Do whatever you want with it. Burn it if it helps. I'm sorry, it's not enough, but it's all I have. Cole. The check was for $200,000. I sat on the porch steps and laughed, then cried, then laughed again. Mrs. Chen found me there an hour later, holding the letter in check, mascara probably streaking down my face. The girls are asking for you, she said gently. I nodded, wiping my face. How do I tell them? The truth, she said simply. Children understand more than we think. That night, I sat the girls down. Remember the sad man from Savannah? They nodded solemnly. He's your daddy. Nova's eyes went wide. We have a daddy? Yes. Where was he? Ilara asked, always the one to dig deeper. He was lost, I said finally. Sometimes grown-ups get lost, and it takes them a long time to find their way back. Is he still lost? Nova asked. I thought about the letter, about the check I hadn't decided what to do with, about the broken man who'd stood in our little garden in his $1,000 suit. I don't know, baby. Maybe a little. We could help him, Ilara suggested. Like when we helped that lost dog find his home. Maybe, I said, pulling them close. Maybe. The email came at 2 a.m., 3 weeks after Cole's visit. I'd been up with Nova, who'd had a nightmare about butterflies turning into monsters. She was finally asleep, curled against my side when my phone buzzed. The sender was encrypted. Anonymous. One attachment. Miss Calloway. You don't know me, but I know what was done to you. The attached file contains evidence you'll want to see. Celeste Baird orchestrated everything. She's planning to do it again. Be careful. A friend. The attachment was a series of internal Argent Biomed communications, dating back 5 years. Celeste's digital fingerprints were everywhere, accessing Cole's security credentials, manipulating audit logs, transferring the foundation money to an offshore account that was later emptied and closed. But the most damning thing was a message thread between Celeste and her father, the chairman of Argent's board. See, the Callaway situation is handled. Chairman, ensure Maddox never suspects. See, he's too emotional about her to see clearly. Give me 6 months, he'll be eating out of my hand. Chairman, the merger depends on this marriage. Don't disappoint me. I read it 3 times, my hand shaking. 5 years. She'd been planning this for 5 years, even before the accusation. I'd just been an obstacle to remove. I did something I hadn't done in 4 years. I called Cole. Sienna? He answered on the first ring, like he'd been waiting. Check your email, I said, and hung up. And I forwarded everything to him, then sat back and waited. 10 minutes later, my phone rang. How long have you known? His voice was deadly quiet, the calm before the storm. 30 minutes. I'm going to destroy her. Cole. She took everything. You, them, 4 years. God, Sienna, 4 years of their lives. Don't do anything stupid. Stupid? He laughed, harsh and bitter. Stupid was believing her. Stupid was not fighting for you. This is justice. He hung up. I knew that tone. Cole in destruction mode was something to behold. Celeste had no idea what was coming. The news broke 3 days later. Cole had called an emergency board meeting, presented the evidence, and publicly terminated his engagement. Celeste tried to spin it, claiming Cole was having a breakdown, but then the FBI got involved. Turns out, embezzling from a charitable foundation was a federal crime. The headlines were brutal. Tech heiress in fraud scandal. Biomed billions built on lies. The woman who framed her rival. My phone didn't stop ringing. Reporters, colleagues from Austin, friends who'd disappeared when I was accused. I ignored them all. But then Cole showed up again, this time at the girls' preschool pickup. You can't be here, I said, aware of the other parents watching. I'm not here for you. I'm here for them. He nodded toward the school. I've been reading about co-parenting. The experts say consistency is key. Cole, I'm not asking to take them. I'm asking to walk them home with you, to be present, to start somewhere. Before I could respond, the doors opened and children poured out. Nova saw him first. The sad man, she announced at full volume, because Nova had no other setting. Alara, quieter but no less direct, walked right up to him. Are you still lost? Cole knelt down to her level. Yes, but I'm trying to find my way. She studied him with those serious gray eyes, his eyes. Okay, you can walk with us, but Mommy holds our hands at the crosswalk. And that's how it started, small steps. Walking home from school, then staying for dinner once a week, then Saturday mornings at the park. The girls adapted faster than I did. Children are like that. They don't hold grudges the way adults do. They just want to be loved. Cole never pushed, never asked for more than I offered. But he showed up, every time, rain or shine, even when Nova had a complete meltdown and told him she hated him, even when Alara ignored him for a week because he'd missed her butterfly presentation. He learned their routines. Nova needed her toast cut in triangles, not squares. Alara couldn't sleep without her star projector. Nova was fearless but needed reassurance when she failed. Alara was cautious but bloomed with encouragement. 3 months into this new normal, I found him crying in my kitchen. What's wrong? He held up Alara's drawing from school. She drew her family. There were 4 figures. Mommy, Nova, Alara, and a tall figure labeled Daddy. She called me Daddy at the park today, he whispered. Just once. Then went back to Cole. But she said it. I didn't know what to say, so I made him coffee. We sat at my tiny kitchen table, so different from the marble island in his penthouse, and didn't talk about the drawing or the word or the way Nova had started setting 4 places at dinner without being asked. The call came on a Tuesday. I was in a meeting when my phone exploded with texts from Cole. 911. Hospital. Alara. I don't remember driving there. I just remember running through the emergency room doors and seeing Cole pacing the waiting room, his suit jacket thrown over a chair, his shirt covered in blood. What happened? Playground. She fell from the monkey bars. Hit her head. There was so much blood, Sienna. God, so much blood. A nurse appeared. Are you the mother? Yes, where is she? She's stable, getting stitches. But we need to confirm some information. The gentleman said he was the father, but our system doesn't show. He is, I said quickly. He's their father. The nurse frowned. Our records show father unknown. Then your records are wrong. It should have been simple. But nothing about our situation was simple. The hospital needed legal documentation. Insurance needed verification. Every form became a reminder that in the eyes of the law, Cole was nobody to them. They finally let us see her. She was so small in the hospital bed, a bandage wrapped around her head, but awake and asking for her butterfly book. Daddy was scared, she told me matter-of-factly. He said bad words. I did, Cole admitted. Several. You're not supposed to say bad words, Nova informed him from her perch on his lap. She'd arrived with Mrs. Chen and hadn't left his side since. I know, I'm sorry. It's okay, Nova patted his face. Mommy says bad words when she thinks we're asleep. Traitor, I muttered, but I was smiling. That night, after Alara was released and the girls were asleep in their beds, Cole and I sat on the porch. We need to fix this, he said. The birth certificates, the legal guardianship, everything. That means court, public records. Everyone will know. Let them know. He turned to me. I'm not hiding anymore, Sienna. I'm not pretending they don't exist. They're my daughters. I want the world to know that. It'll be messy. The media, I don't care. Your reputation means nothing compared to them. He paused. I've already started the paperwork, voluntary acknowledgement of paternity, but for the birth certificates, we'll need to go to court together. I thought about the implications, the gossip, the judgment, the resurrection of old scandals. Then I thought about Alara in that hospital bed, and how Cole had fought with the staff, how he'd held her hand while they stitched her up, how he'd sung the silly song about butterflies she loved even though 3 nurses were definitely recording it. Okay, I said, we'll go to court. He nodded, then stood to leave. At his car, he turned back. Thank you for letting me prove I can be the father they deserve. You already are, I said quietly, and meant it. The next morning, Nova announced at breakfast, Daddy's taking us to get ice cream after school. I looked at her. Oh, is he? Yes, he promised. 2 scoops because Alara was brave. I was brave, Alara agreed, touching her bandage proudly. Cole had texted me about the ice cream plan at 6 a.m. asking permission. I'd said yes, but seeing the girls' excitement, the casual way they said Daddy now, made something shift in my chest. This was what they'd missed. Not just the big moments, but the small ones. Ice cream on a Wednesday. Someone else to beg for 2 scoops. Another person in their corner, fighting for them, loving them. I thought about the letters under my bed, all the words I'd never sent. Maybe it was time to let them go. Not forget them, but stop carrying them like armor or weapons. That night, while the girls were at Cole's apartment, he'd gotten a place 10 minutes away, decorated entirely by and for them. I pulled out the shoebox. I read each letter one last time. The angry ones, the sad ones, the ones full of love and loss and confusion. Then I built a fire in the small fire pit in our backyard and burned them all. Not because I was forgiving and forgetting, but because I was moving forward. We all were. The courtroom was packed. Despite our lawyer's best efforts to keep it quiet, word had gotten out. Tech billionaire's secret love children made for irresistible headlines. I sat at the plaintiff's table, feeling like I was the one on trial. Cole sat beside me, our lawyers flanking us. Across the aisle, Celeste sat with her legal team, out on bail, fighting the criminal charges and trying to salvage something from the wreckage of her reputation. Your Honor, Cole's lawyer began, we're here for a simple matter of correcting birth records to acknowledge paternity. Simple? Celeste's lawyer stood. Your Honor, this is about a man trying to claim children after abandoning their mother based on false accusations that your client orchestrated. Our lawyer interrupted. The judge raised her hand. I've reviewed the evidence. Ms. Baird, you're facing federal charges that, frankly, make your objections here seem vindictive at best. Mr. Maddox, you're asking this court to legally recognize you as these children's father? Yes, Your Honor. Miss Calloway, you agree to this? I stood. Your Honor, may I say something? She nodded. I pulled out a piece of paper, the last letter, the one I'd saved from the fire. I wrote this the night my daughters were born, I began, my voice shaking. I'd like to read it if I may. Another nod. Cole, I read. They're here. 2 perfect girls with your eyes and my stubbornness. Nova came out fighting. Ilara came out thinking. The nurse asked about their father, and I said he was gone. But you're not gone, are you? You're in every expression they make, every determined set of their jaw. Every time Nova refuses to give up or Ilara stops to figure something out before proceeding. I hate you for not being here. I hate you for not believing me. But mostly, I hate that they'll grow up wondering why they weren't enough to make you stay. Because that's what children do. They blame themselves. So I'll lie to them. I'll say you died. It's kinder than the truth, that you chose to believe a lie over the woman who loved you for 7 years, that you threw us away like we were nothing. But know this, they are everything. They are laughter and light and chaos and joy. They are the best parts of both of us, somehow, miraculously, without any of our worst parts. I wish you could see them. I wish you could see what we made, what we could have raised together. I wish a lot of things. But wishes don't change reality. And the reality is, I'm alone in this hospital room at 3 a.m., watching our daughters sleep, and you don't even know they exist. That's the tragedy, Cole. Not what you did to me, but what you're missing, what you'll always miss, what you chose to miss. Forever the mother of your children, Sienna. The courtroom was silent. I folded the letter, looked at the judge. I wanted him gone then. I needed him gone to survive it. But children need their fathers, even imperfect ones, especially imperfect ones who are trying to be better. So yes, Your Honor, I agree to this. Cole was crying, actually crying, in open court, in front of cameras and reporters. Mr. Maddox, the judge said gently, would you like to respond? He stood, wiping his face. I don't deserve them. Any of them. But I'm going to spend every day trying to. That's all I can promise. That I'll keep trying. The judge nodded. In the matter of paternity acknowledgement, I find in favor of the plaintiffs. Birth certificates will be amended to reflect Cole Maddox as the father. Joint custody is awarded with primary residence remaining with Ms. Calloway. Ms. Baird, your objection is noted and overruled. The gavel came down. It was done. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Cole's security team tried to clear a path, but I stopped. One statement, I said. The crowd quieted. 4 years ago, I was falsely accused and lost everything. Today, my daughters gained their father. That's all that matters. We ask for privacy as we navigate this new chapter. Ms. Calloway, do you forgive Mr. Maddox? Someone shouted. I looked at Cole, then back at the cameras. Forgiveness isn't a moment. It's a process. We're working on it. Are you back together? We're co-parents. That's enough for now. Cole's hand found my elbow, guiding me to the waiting car. Inside, away from the cameras, we sat in silence. You kept that letter, he said finally. I kept them all, then burned them last week, except that one. Why that one? Because it was the most honest, the most raw. The girls might want to read it someday to understand. Thank you, he said, for reading it, for letting them know I'm trying. Just keep trying, I said. That's all they need. The house sat on 3 acres between Asheville and our old neighborhood. Cole had found it, sent me the listing with a simple note. For them. It had 5 bedrooms, a wraparound porch, a creek running through the backyard, room for the girls to grow, to run, to be children, room for all of us, though we hadn't discussed that part. It's perfect, Nova declared, already planning where her bike would go. There's butterflies, Ilara added, watching a monarch drift past. We'd been doing the 2-house shuffle for 6 months. Cole's apartment during his days, mine during mine. The girls adapted, but there were complications. Nova's favorite stuffed animal was always at the wrong house. Ilara's science project got left behind. Little frustrations that added up. What do you think? Cole asked me as the girls ran off to explore. It's a big step. Separate wings, he said quickly. You'd have your space, I'd have mine. The girls would just have home. Home. Such a simple word for such a complicated concept. I'll think about it. But I already knew. The girls needed stability more than I needed walls. We moved in slowly. My things in the east wing, his in the west, the girls in the middle, the heart of the house, which seemed appropriate. The first night, I couldn't sleep. The house was too quiet, too new. I made tea and found Cole on the porch, staring at the stars. Can't sleep either? He shook his head. Keep thinking I'll wake up and this will all be gone. It's real, I said, sitting beside him, but not too close. I know, that's what scares me. We sat in comfortable silence, listening to the creek and the crickets. Then Nova's voice drifted from inside. Mommy? Daddy? We both stood, but she appeared in the doorway, dragging her blanket. Bad dream? I asked. She shook her head. Wanted to make sure you were both here. Cole picked her up, and she wrapped her arms around his neck. We're here, baby. Always. She fell asleep on his shoulder. He carried her back to bed while I checked on Alara, who was sprawled across her bed like a starfish, perfectly content. The 5th birthday party planning started a month later. The girls wanted everything butterflies and invited their entire preschool class. We need a cake, Nova announced at breakfast. 2 cakes, Alara corrected. We're 2 people. That's not how birthdays work, Nova argued. It is for us. Cole and I exchanged glances over their heads. Co-parenting meant co-decision-making, even about cake. 1 big cake, 2 flavors, I suggested. Deal, they said in unison, then ran off to plan decorations. The party was chaos. 25-year-olds hyped on sugar and sunshine. Parents who tried not to stare at Cole and me, clearly dying to know our status. Mrs. Chen manning the face-painting station with military precision. Tyler Morrison had come down from the hospital, helping Cole with the games. Watching them set up the piñata, laughing when it broke on the first hit and candy exploded everywhere, I felt something I hadn't in 5 years. Peace. As the sun set and parents collected their sugar-crashed children, Alara tugged on my dress. Mommy, I have a secret. I knelt down. What is it, baby? She cupped her hands around my ear. I found this in Daddy's room. She pressed something small and cool into my hand. I looked down. It was a ring. The ring. The one I'd seen him browsing for 6 years ago. The one that should have been mine before everything fell apart. Where did you... Alara! Nova appeared, holding a small box. That was supposed to be for later. What's for later? I asked, my heart pounding. Nova looked at Cole, who had gone very still by the cake table. Daddy said we could give it to you if you seemed happy, Nova explained. Are you happy, Mommy? Everyone was staring now. Cole walked over, his face a mix of embarrassment and hope. I wasn't... He took a breath. They found it when we were unpacking. I should have thrown it away years ago, but... But? I prompted. But it was supposed to be yours. Even if you never wear it, even if you throw it in the creek, it should be yours. I looked at the ring. Simple, elegant, nothing like the massive diamond Celeste had worn. Just a sapphire surrounded by smaller diamonds on a vintage band. It was perfect. It had always been perfect. I'm not proposing, Cole said quickly. We're nowhere near ready for that. But maybe someday. When we've figured out how to be us again. If we figure that out. Mommy, are you crying? Alara asked, concerned. I touched my face. I was. Happy tears, I said. I put the ring on my right hand. A promise to think about promises. A maybe to maybe. The girls cheered like I'd agreed to get them a puppy. Cole smiled, soft and uncertain. Later, after everyone had gone home and the girls were asleep, chocolate-faced and exhausted, we cleaned up together. Moving around each other in the kitchen with the muscle memory of 7 years together, adjusted for 5 years apart. Thank you, I said, for keeping it. Thank you for not throwing it in the creek, I laughed. Night's still young. He smiled, then grew serious. Sienna, I know, I said. Me too, but not yet. But someday? I thought about the letters I'd burned, the pain I'd carried, the anger I'd nurtured. Then I thought about Nova setting 4 places at dinner without being asked. Ilara drawing her family with 4 people. Cole singing butterfly songs in a hospital room. This house with separate wings that kept getting closer to center. Yeah, I said. Someday. He kissed my forehead, gentle as a whisper, then went to his wing. I went to mine. But in the middle, our daughters slept peacefully, dreaming of butterflies and birthday cake, secure in the knowledge that Mommy and Daddy were both here. It wasn't the ending I'd imagined all those years ago in Austin. It was messier, more complicated, built on scar tissue and second chances. But it was ours. And maybe that was enough. Maybe that was everything.